Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM with our guest co-host, Alex Grossman. Alex, are you there?
I am here.
Wow.
Happy to be here.
Happy to have you back. So, nice hiatus. Anyway, we've been doing this show, Alex, and you actually were, I think, the second guest on the show since January of 2017. 2017. That's a long time ago. In a galaxy far, far away. And yes, no, we're not Star Trek. But everybody wants to know, what is Ask Brien about? What is, some people have never listened to the show. I don't know why, but some people haven't. And we're going to go over and explain to people, Ask Brien is a business show where you can learn something about business. Either a business story, somebody went from, hey, I started out with a kitchen table, and now I have a publicly traded company, to I'm going to teach you all about Facebook marketing or how to count inventory if you're in a automotive store and you have a lot of employees that are counting your inventory for you, right, Alex?
Oh, right. Oh, that's a fun job. Yes.
It's the best. That's why I didn't become an accountant. They sent me back to Sherwin-Williams. They said count the paint, and I said, so I'm going to watch paint dry? No, not me. I'm a little bit too extroverted for that kind of crap. Anyway, crap's allowed? I don't know. They got so many words.
It is now.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yes, you did,
I'll see
yeah.
if Jerry runs down the hall. All right, I don't see Jerry, so I think we're okay. All right. Now, we got a really, really big show. Oh, that's Ed Sullivan. Sorry. All right, that's not an E in that show. But Ask Brien is a show where we try to teach people. Alex, do you know any of the E's of why Brien is spelled with an E? Do you know any?
I think Brian's spelled with an E because it's an excellent show that you put on here, Peter.
Wow, can we get a clap?
You sure can.
But you forgot the biggest reason why we have an E in it, and that is
Well,
the engineer.
because of
Boo!
engineer.
Boo! The engineer.
I
That's
don't have
why.
a boo. There we go.
All right.
Well, thank you
We
guys.
couldn't do the show without her.
Does she have a train? She's an engineer, right? Does she no? Okay, just checking. Okay.
She doesn't ride where you do in the caboose. All right, so.
Oh, okay.
All right, fine. We're all sorts of fun things here today. All
yeah,
right.
there's a lot happening right now. I'm gonna
Yeah, you can tell.
let you two do that.
This is what iced tea will do for you. Okay, got the caffeine going. All right, so do you know any other E's?
Well, I think education is a great E, personally.
Well, education, that's correct. We try to educate people something about business. That's our goal. The other E's we have are what? Some people, not one.
Enthusiasm?
And
Well.
excitement!
I'm gonna add eardrum to that because you just blew mine out. That's okay.
Yeah, not a good show if you have tinnitus. Anyway,
No.
and had I had that other E that people tell me about that I don't know much about, I wouldn't have done that. That's called empathy. Had I had empathy, I wouldn't have screamed in your ear or at least told you I was going to, right? But I don't know what empathy means. I don't know why it exists, and I've heard about it in the dictionary somewhere, but I don't know. Anyway, so that's one. And obviously, everybody on our show is an expert. In order to be an expert, the calculation is, I'll do it for you. You work 40 hours a week. You work 50 weeks a year. That's 2,000. You multiply it by 5. That's 10,000 hours. You need 10,000 hours to become an expert. If you're an expert, then you know something about whatever subject that is. It could be basket weaving like yourself, Alex, or it could be engineering like our engineer, or it could be, adding 2 plus 2 like I do. That I'm an expert in that. 2 plus 2, what? Hold on. 1,
Three.
2,
3. 5 in
3,
some cases.
5. 5. 2 plus 2 is 5. That's our educational aspect of it. Okay, that's what comes from the accountant and the lawyer. All right. Hold on a second. Was that a beeping?
That's you.
That's me. Well, you know what's going to happen? That's going off
Tell
the
them
air.
that you're busy. Yeah.
No, that's going off the air. I can't believe people would do that. All right. I think we are ready to start the show.
I don't know if you need to have tea before you come in for this show anymore.
Next time, I'm going to bring a Red Bull.
Jeez. Yeah. Let's just stick to
A
water.
A double Red Bull.
Yeah, great.
All right. So, Alex, do we have a guest?
I don't know if we have a guest today or not, sir. That's a good question.
Is
That's a really
Mitch?
good question.
Is there a guy named Mitch here?
There is not.
There is not a guy named Mitch. All
Mitch
right.
isn't on the line. Let's see if it joins a little later. He's running into a little bit of a issue.
All right. So what we're going to go over today, and Alex, I don't know if you have that list, but we're going to discuss each one of these so we can spend a little bit of time on it. And by the way, not everybody remembers you. You've been on the show many, many years, and you stopped and took what we call a hiatus, no E in there. And so just give a little bit of a 2-minute background, 1-minute background, who you are, so the new listeners can find out who you are.
Well, I wouldn't call it a hiatus when you actually do work, but maybe that's what we do.
I didn't say a hyena.
A hyena? What'd you say?
Exactly. That has an E in it.
Exactly. I love it. So, no, I am what we call an E with an entrepreneur, and hopefully a serial entrepreneur. Cut my teeth at a little company called Apple, working for a guy directly named Steve Jobs, and built a couple of product lines for him in the multi-billion-dollar range, and had a lot of fun at it, and then started a number of companies before and after that. And I consider myself an expert at not going from the kitchen table to the publicly traded company, but maybe the other way. No, I'm kidding. I tried never to do that. But, a serial entrepreneur with a little bit of background in just about everything, but a tech entrepreneur for the most part, and educated as crazy as this seems, an electrical engineer.
Double E.
But
electrical engineer.
Exactly.
All right.
But really known as more of a marketing guy in today's world.
So when you said you took a bite out of that little tiny company, is that why on the Apple that there's that bite? You took the bite out? That's why when you look at the Apple on the Apple icon, that was your bite, huh?
I wish I could say that was me, but unfortunately not.
Okay. All right. Now, having gone through all that stuff, and use the word begins with a C, ends in a P. All right. So we're going to go through this list here, and we're going to talk a little bit about each one. So there have been a number of laws that have transpired.
Well, what is this list? What is this list of you speak of?
This is a list of all the new laws in California as of January 1st, 2025. Now, it's not every law because there are thousands. Believe it or not, thousands of laws are passed every year. That means the Congress, or in our case in California, the Assembly and the Senate, has passed the law and the governor has signed it, or somewhere along those lines. Now, so the first law is a law that's effective January 1st, 2025. It extends the sale of alcohol until 4 a.m., but only, get this, Alex, only in the 100-person VIP club of the Los Angeles Clippers' new arena in Inglewood. Okay? Now, I don't want to get too political here, but talk about disingenuous, okay? So they're extending a law to drink only in the Clippers arena where they play basketball and have concerts. Okay, why only there? Who knows? But obviously, this is what I call special interest. I mean, why only in the Clippers? Why can't the Lakers do that? I mean, that's ridiculous.
Exactly.
It is a really, and this is what happens when I don't want to talk bad, but I'm pretty sure that someone for the Clippers probably made a nice donation to allow this law to come. How does the legislature? I mean, there's so many problems. I mean, I don't want to get into fires here, but there's so many problems with our government. Why are they passing a law that they can extend alcohol till 4 a.m.? And besides which, we're talking about an arena. I don't think the Clippers are playing at 4 a.m. So this is really an odd one.
Think about that conversation, how that went. Hey, I think we need to extend the use of alcohol to 4 a.m. But, that sounds like a great idea. Let's do that at clubs. No. Let's do it just at the VIP clubs. Oh, which VIP club? Oh, just the LA Clippers. Oh, that really makes a lot of sense. Let's spend a couple hundred hours on that rather than filling reservoirs. I think it's a good idea. Oh, did I say that? Sorry about that.
And also fire hydrants, right? But anyway.
Oh, yeah, you don't need those things.
Fire hydrant, 4 a.m. alcohol at the Clipper game, yeah. Definitely can see how this law became effective. All right. Let's not get too political here because, some people don't, there are some other people in our show. I don't want to attack any group here, but, All right, so here's a new law, and that's an interesting one, okay? It requires an online marketplace including eBay, Facebook Marketplace. I'm going to guess Amazon, right? They're big.
Yep.
It requires them to start collecting information on high volume third party sellers. Okay. So first of all, let's figure out what that is. High volume. Well, they don't define what high volume is. So I mean, high volume is $10,000, $10 million, $100 million, 10 billion. I don't know what it is. Probably have to look at the statute, but I mean, first you have to find out if you are even in that group, and then if you are in that group, then you have to collect certain data. Okay, I mean that reminds me of a book I used to read. I read in 8th grade. There's a guy named George Orwell, 1984. Of course, he was
Yep.
what about 40 years late, I guess. But that's an
Well,
interesting one.
I mean, this is a double-edged sword, right? I mean, for a small business, this is, depending on which side of the business you're on, this is a great thing if you're a local retailer and you're being undercut by certain online sales with products that they likely stole from your retail store and they're selling it online. I mean, this is the reason that law is probably in place, right? So
Well,
that's the great side of it.
And if it's less than $900, it's not even a felony.
Exactly.
If it was stolen at a
But the
retail
other
store.
side of this is exactly what you said. The big brother piece of this is that, well, if I have to be successful, start on my kitchen table, and now I've got this huge online business that I built in a very honest manner, now I'm giving the government all the information about my business. Not to mention, I don't know if that law says that they can't take that information they collect on you and use it to compete with you, because I'm not saying a lot of marketplaces are known to do that, but they are.
Wow. So, Alex, your guest, or actually, I shouldn't say your guest, the guest for the Ask Brien Radio Show, Mitch! Are you there?
I'm here.
All right. Haven't spoken to you in a
Welcome, Mitch.
long time. That's also in a
Hi,
galaxy
thank-
far, far away. Well, thank you for joining us, Mitch. So, first of all, we'd like to get a little bit of a background.
Oh.
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
So just give a quick background who you are so people know who you
are. My name is Mitch Guzik. I have 45, 50 years plus of manufacturing, management experience, ran a bunch of different companies. I've done a lot of turnaround and restructuring work, bankruptcy work, liquidation work in the industrial auction space. Currently, I'm spending most of my time functioning as a fiduciary, doing trust and estate management as a trustee and as a conservator.
So I'm a lawyer and I understand fiduciary, but a lot of people don't understand that. Can you just quickly explain to the audience what fiduciary means?
Sure. As when in cases, especially where the courts are involved, the courts want to know that you have kind of gone through some rigorous testing and understanding, and that you actually pass a certification that the court can rely that you are really become a trusted resource. So a fiduciary has a responsibility to the people that they're working for and protecting. Most often, the people that are considered the trustor, the person that you're representing, and that having the certification gives you a level of credibility that you're hopefully trustworthy and honest. And so the role of the fiduciary is to take a unbiased, honest position where you are obligated to do what's best for your client, the trustor, possibly the court, the conservator that you're working for, that you're really an honest broker, and that you're kind of beyond reproach, and you're doing, what's best in the best interest of, especially when people have capacity issues. So that you're really doing what's best for the people at hand. And what's really kind of interesting I'm finding out about this work is, this usually starts out where somebody's parents have a reasonable estate and they're getting older and they're making mistakes. And, what generally is the problem is they have like one or more of the siblings. Their children who have siblings try and take care and manage the estate. And that's when the problems start. because people feel things end up becoming not equitable. They end up fighting. Somebody thinks somebody's getting something they don't deserve. Unfortunately, most of these cases end up, where there's really nasty, protracted litigation, or, the estate gets messed up, or there isn't an estate plan, and they end up in probate. And so, my recommendation is, find a fiduciary to manage and do this kind of work, for your parents. It'll save you a lot of aggravation.
So, does this happen with a lot of small businesses where they're multi-generational?
But my experience, there's most people, have very poor succession plans. So, not that I've worked on any of those, but, there's definitely, that definitely happens a lot. Somebody builds the business and they pass it on, and the next generation, does a poor job of, the succession plans aren't right. They're always kind of the boss's kid. They didn't really earn their way into the positions they have, and, they fail more than they succeed, unfortunately.
So what do you do for the business in that case? So you're the fiduciary. What is your responsibility? Are you like a receiver? Or are you like a judge? What is your role? What do you do?
Well, you can. You're not a judge. You can function as a receiver if you're appointed that. But in terms of if I was called into a small business, because I have so much manufacturing and operational business experience, I would certainly first try and tackle how is the business managed, who's the decision maker, where are the pain points, how do we straighten out and either get this business sold, get it sized, get it liquidated.
And are you able to discuss any of the current businesses you're working with now, or is that a breach of their fiduciary?
No, they're the confidentiality, which they can't stress enough, really precludes me. I do manage one person's estate. It's a good sized estate. The person has some capacity issues, but they still kind of like to think that they are making decisions. They do, but what we really are. Again, some people are different, but I'm really kind of you function as a conductor. Okay. Like of course I need an accountant. I need a bookkeeper. I mean, can I do some of that work? Sure. But it's much better if you hire professionals. I would never want to be the financial advisor, even though you can be. I mean, certainly people that are in late stage in life, I mean, you would be out of your mind if all their assets were in, risky cryptocurrencies or something, right? So, it's pretty easy to say, well, let's just buy bonds and do safe investments. But my point being is you're much better with a professional financial advisor. But I find myself in a position where you're dealing with the people that work on their house, and you're, making sure that they're getting W-2s and you're giving the right stuff to their accountants, and you're dealing with their lawyers to make sure the trusts are kept up, and you're dealing with the gardener's bills and the DirecTV bills, and, you're really again, functioning as a conductor that's helping these people run their lives. They're getting there. I find that a lot of things aren't online, and I try and put as much as I can online, set up automatic bill pay, be very transparent about how money's coming in and going out. Again, you're really sort of functioning, almost as a controller of their life. You're helping them with doctor's appointments, and that, what's appropriate to be online is online with the pharmacies, and they're getting medications. And, that's really the bulk of the work that's available.
Well, we only have about 45 seconds left before we can take a break, so I don't want to go too far. But are any of these companies that you're representing, are any of them in probate, or most of them just living trusts and you're just the trustee and the trustee?
Yeah, no, I haven't. For me to get the probate work, I would need to, I haven't yet, I haven't received my licensing yet, but that will only happen once I get appointed by the court. So that could come up where if someone dies, they have no will, it's in probate, there's contention, and then the court will appoint a fiduciary to straighten it all out. So that's where I could have that stuff, but I don't. I have not done any probate work yet.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're going to be taking a quick break. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Like no other station in the world! We are like no other station in the world. Who does this?
Who has
these
you?
kind of
Yes.
Who has these kind of characters?
We only have you.
And
Only ones.
the guest host, Alex Grossman. You're on. You had some questions from Mitch.
Man, am I in that same category as you? I better change my ways. Boy, who knows what's going
There's
on?
only so many insane people we can have.
Yeah, insanity is a cute thing, I guess. It's kind of nice. So, Mitch, I wanted to ask you. I know your background in working with companies as a COO, managing a lot of manufacturing companies, and helping people out with this, and almost coming in as a consultant in a lot of these areas. What do you find when you walk into a company, they're manufacturing, or give me an example of a company where manufacturing having problems? They've been successful, they hit the wall or something, and they need help. What do you usually find out there?
So, look, generally, not generally, all the time, right? Businesses go through different cycles, right? They overcome early failure. They determine there's a need for these businesses to exist. They start growing, gaining revenue. Going and building revenue. And, as they say, like, they may be in a new industry, a new space, so rising tide raises all boats. And they have some really good, they're over the hump and they have some really good formative year. And, and then whether it's bigger competitors start to come in or the market starts to mature, the driving need starts to subside, and I can give examples in a minute of these kind of things. And, they start to run into problems and they don't know what to do. And they generally almost all of them always fall into kind of the same, all we need is more revenue. All we need is our marketing's not right. They look at things that, would be great if it was that simple, and that is one portion of it, but they all seem to miss what the real drivers are that are going to keep them, in business. And look, some things just are not going to be in business anymore. I've done a bunch of wind downs under the guise of what's called an assignment for benefit of creditors. These are venture-backed deals, and so let me talk about those a little bit first. A lot of those deals, like these people go through, they have an interesting idea. Miraculously, they raise venture money, and that's all predicated on a robust stock market. They're all pitching towards the next unicorn, and again, a unicorn is a business that ends up being like Amazon or Facebook that's worth billions. So, to the venture capitalists, it's huge amount of risk, but they're willing to take it because the exit strategy could be huge. Point being that they're hemorrhaging cash. They're not profitable. They're going through different Series A, Series B, Series C, different raises of capital. And, they may have, I've worked at companies that had $35, $40, $50 million in revenue that were losing $200 million. So that doesn't seem to upset venture capitalists. And I just think like at some point this thing's going to flip the other way and they're going to take it public and it's going to be worth $1 billion and all is forgiven. But the reality is the vast majority of them don't make it. And so here's the point. No one in the world can turn that business around. When the VCs finally say enough, they pull the plug and they hire people, like myself. I've worked for a few firms, and we wind the business down. Either try and do an orderly wind down or an assignment or benefit of creditors. Sometimes you have to do a bankruptcy, which is clumsy and cumbersome and expensive, but is certainly is a more final type of solution. These other things that I mentioned can still lead shareholders or or board members open to potential litigation, although there's ways to mitigate that risk. So my point being is, again, there's no way to turn those businesses around without a ton of more cash, or a private equity group maybe comes in and buys it and combines it with something else. You've heard the term roll-ups, where you're combining like businesses. One of the deals I worked on sold to a big home builder. They were a online design and furniture firm, and they ended up being acquired again by a big home builder as part of a service for them. Why they did that deal, who knows?
What do you do? What do you do, Mitch, if you're an entrepreneur and you're in that situation? I mean, do you walk away? Do you try to help? Do you ever come out whole? What happens to the poor entrepreneur in the middle of this?
Well, so generally these poor entrepreneurs are, really smart young people with very polished advanced degrees, and they have a passion about the business. They think it's never going to end. They really, they either try and pull their next startup. They really have no idea. They're really deer in the headlights. What do? They go try and find a job somewhere else or do another startup. Generally there's nothing like if these things fail too soon, they've never been able to get any of the chips off the table.
Right. So there's not a lot there.
No, but
not a lot left of it.
Yeah. So here's the interesting thing, really, Alex, is that if I was in role of that, and I was the VC, I would have a much more active role. That kind of surprises me that they don't. I think that there's a huge need for VCs to have again, more active. They're not private equity groups or venture capitalists. I mean, a lot of them made money by sheer luck. Not that they're not smart people, but so they're trying to position their firms in a different way where they're hiring operating heads. But most of those people have no operational experience. They're the operating head for the VC. If it was me, I would be watching this long before they get in those positions. But it's not like my phone's ringing off the hook and they're like, come in and do a review. Where are we? When are we running out of money? It defies logic and reason. But what
makes sense.
To answer your question, if there's a way to get to those entrepreneurs, someone should be like, you ought to be doing it. These are the things you ought to be doing and thinking about way ahead of time. Unfortunately, they don't.
Yeah. So a lot of them have great ideas, but getting that idea. So if you were an entrepreneur and you were going to do this before you got yourself in trouble, what would you do? What would you advise them to do? To seek assistance from someone, or get a mentor program, or what would you do as an entrepreneur to save yourself from going through what a few of us have gone through in this case?
Yeah, So I would modify my plans to best, neutral, and worst, and know exactly when on the worst plan we run out of money. Because when they run out of money ahead of time and don't deliver, there's it's too late. And none of them do that. It's all about acquiring eyeballs and schedules, and again, it really defies logic. I mean, again, maybe the VCs just, I have a friend who assures me it's because there's way too much money chasing too few deals, and no one has the time or patience, which is absurd. But there may be some truth in that.
We got to take a quick break.
Yeah,
we got to take a quick break. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. And now a word from our sponsor, Legal Steps.
We want to say thank you to Legal Steps. It's spelled LegalStepz. That's with a Z. .com. So at legalsteps.com, you can finally do what you've been wanting to do forever. This is a new year, new month. Let's get on it, right? Stop thinking about this really cool idea that you've had for however many months or years and do something about it. Legal Steps can help you do that. You can take different courses.
Are we on in the background?
You are not now. They offer They offer 3 different courses to register a trademark, to form an S corporation, to form an LLC. And with these 3 different courses, you are in great hands. You've got experts with over 30 years experience. And what I really liked, I took one of the courses 6 months ago or so. What I really liked about it was that I could see what my expert was looking at. So there were times where I was like, I have no idea what this says. This is legalese. This is kind of stressing me out a little bit. But I was able to see what my expert was doing. So I knew, like, okay, good. I answered that question the right way. So there's really nothing to lose. And by the way, if you get to a point where you are super confused and frustrated and you toss your hands in the air, the experts at Legal Steps will just do it for you. So there's really nothing to lose. The courses are very affordable, all fall under $150 each. And these courses are all reviewed by the experts, the attorneys at legalsteps.com. And so you know that you are getting good information. And by the way, the courses are super easy to take. I was able to finish mine in like less than 2 hours, about an hour and 45 minutes. You can pause, rewind, work at your own pace, and take notes and just make it work for your busy schedule. Go to legalsteps.com. That's LEGALSTEPZ with a Z.com.
Thank you, Jen, and thank you, Legal Steps. Mm-hmm. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. Alex, you had a question that you wanted to ask as I was interrupting you and ending. Go ahead.
Well, that's all good. I also have to say I did take a Legal Steps class, and I will have to admit it was very easy and very informative, and I feel twice as smart now. I don't make certain mistakes that I made before.
I thought 2 times 0 is 0.
So, Mitch, I was kind of getting to the point of where we've all heard this, right? We've been involved in VCs, and I think it's almost you have to protect yourself from yourself. If you give over to them and have them give you all the advice that you need, one of the problems is they have other things that they do. You know, you as an entrepreneur think that you're the only one they invested in, and they may have 20 deals on the table, and you're getting a time slice of that time. And if you're successful, what I've found personally is if you're successful, they tend to leave you alone more, which is probably the worst thing, because then you look down that tunnel and the light you see could be a train and you don't know it. And that seems to be one of the problems. So I take your advice there of what you're saying is what we used to call, the 3 sky plan. The blue sky is everything is rosy. I'm meeting my numbers. The gray sky is, well, we're a little slow. Our competition is bad. The black sky is we're going to fail. And how long is it going to take before we run out of money? And, of course, there's the unicorn sky, which is just, the Facebook and others like that. But in that case, do you have a few steps if you walk in to some place? I heard you talk about an apparel company where you went in and you had kind of this situation. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, well, we this opportunity, this is interesting. It may ring a bell, but we haven't been retained yet, but we did have the call, and it's like rote to me, but they've been around for 12 years. They're an intimate apparel company. I think that they have an interesting product. I believe is gender fluid, so men and women, and whatever your gender wants to be. It's like a unisex product is what we used to call it. I don't know tremendous about the company, but they had tremendous growth. During the pandemic, with all the money that was coming out, and people were watching TV and being comfy, and they did great business, during those years, and now, but they're not venture backed. They're actually they have a lender, and they're now experienced. Like, what do we do? And they exactly did the things I said to you. The first thing they were kind of trying to tell us is we have to dial our marketing this way and sales. And I'm like, look, that's all good, but you better figure out how to stop hemorrhaging. And they all. Again, common mistakes are, they have the 20 people that work for them. They can't cut anywhere, and they can't, the reality is if they don't, they're going to be, they're going to hit the wall and not make payroll. You're done when you don't make payroll. So, again, as opposed to the venture thing, talking to the entrepreneur that's venture backed is next to impossible. They're not going to take the advice. What would be a great nexus would be able to convince the venture groups that they really should have a board advisor that has this experience, which you'd think they would, but they don't. More often than not, they don't. They just don't want to bother with it. But in this situation, which could be an interesting turnaround if we end up getting it, I know how to right-size that business right away. Not that I'm any smarter than anybody. I've just done this a bunch of times and learned from people's mistakes. And one thing I would caution people out there's a lot of great people that come out of the consultancy and, went to the best schools and have worked for McKinsey and big accounting firms that now have gotten into the business. And, sadly, the reality, there aren't a lot of people with operational experience. So, if you're out and your business is in this position and you're looking for somebody, make sure they've actually ran businesses. Make sure they've actually had to worry about making payroll and had to fire people and had to cut hours back and do the really tough things that need to be done and need to be looked at, in terms of, in terms of getting your business hopefully turned around and right-sized.
Well, thank you very much, Mitch. We're going to be taking a quick break. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You're listening to the Ask Brien radio show on KHTS 1220 and 98.1 FM. We have our guest, Mitch. Mitch, if people want to reach out to you, maybe they are going through a turnaround. Maybe they need somebody to help them out with their operational issues. How can they reach you and connect with you?
Probably the best way would be through my email, which is first letter, last name, M. Guzik, Guzik, @outlook.com.
Okay. And so if anyone has a question or wants to reach Mitch, you can contact him at any time. Also, previous episodes of the Ask Brien Show are available on our podcast. You can go to Spotify, you can go to Apple, anywhere you listen to your podcast, you can go there. Currently, we're on a lackadaisical point of not having the podcast right now, but we're going to be getting those back on. But any of the shows prior to this, we will. And you can always listen to this episode by going to hometownstation.com. You can catch it there. It's on YouTube. It's on Facebook Live. So there's plenty of places for you to get a copy of this show. So we have a couple questions. So first of all, you mentioned ABC or assignment for benefit creditors. I do not want to have a big discussion here, but I just want to quickly explain to people what it is. Always what I've heard is that ABC basically it's a state process versus a bankruptcy process for dissolution or liquidation and or creating a program or plan whereby people can get paid back something on it. Is that your understanding, or how is it different from that?
Yeah, yes. I mean, different states have different assignment for benefit of creditors. I mean, generally, the assignment of benefit of creditors could be the best vehicle when there are no assets left. And so, California has unique rules, how you have to notice all the creditors. And, there's a process and there's some documentation. But again, it's not really judicial. It's not like, a bankruptcy, you go into federal bankruptcy court. And when they sign the final bankruptcy declaration, you're done. ABC is a completing process, but somebody could decide to still sue you and you're not protected in any way by that ABC. Generally, they may not do that because if you've been trustworthy and honest and haven't, been doing things as if you were in a bankruptcy, there really is nothing to go after. They're really wasting their money. But, people are litigious. People get upset. People do not like losing money. So, the skill, I think, of doing those as well is to really do a good job of getting the creditors to understand the position they're in. And generally, it really also affects unsecured creditors, which are creditors that really have no claim to any of your assets, because they're always behind secured creditors. And generally, in these situations, there aren't the assets to pay off the secured creditors. So the unsecured creditors are getting nothing anyways, which is why the courts and the bankruptcy courts, are wanting to do things that are less expensive, which is, again, where an ABC is, or as I like to do, just an orderly wind down, close up shop, make sure your taxes are paid, make sure employees are taken care of, do all these, a series of steps to orderly wind the business down, which is the most cost effective.
Mitch, what can you tell the audience? What was your biggest success story that you've had? You've been doing this now, not just as a trustee fiduciary, but also running businesses, etc. What has been your biggest success story since you started in business?
So I've had a couple interesting apparel and auction deals. So one of them we were hired it's a big apparel company that was in the home furnishings business. They had a huge warehouse full of millions of dollars of very expensive fabrics, and they thought that they actually thought that stuff would have to give this stuff away. So we did a very good job marketing and did an orderly liquidation of all the assets, ran an auction, and brought them a couple $1 million when they thought they were going to get nothing. So that was again, that has a lot to do with understanding the assets, doing a really good job of marketing, and make sure that the buyers, wherever they be, understand the value of these assets. A lot of times that work's not done properly. I also did a wind down of a biotech that was in San Diego, closed the facility, same situation. They thought that it would bring the equipment there would only bring X. We brought 3X because we did such a good job of cleaning everything up, getting all the people that, again, this was in San Diego Biotech. So there are a lot of local companies that we reached out to that normally they're not trolling the auction pages. So again, we cleaned everything up. We did a yeoman's job. There were a lot of situations involved, materials that have to be dealt with effectively. So that was a good win. And the third one was a big apparel company many years ago. Had 15 really good years, 2 bad years, but they had such a good reputation. We were able to settle out all the debt at 10 cents on the dollar. So we basically settled $5 million in debt. This was 25 years ago, which was a lot more money than it is now, for $500,000. Paid off all the creditors, and then we're able to sell the company to a $1 billion 100 company. So the owners, they didn't come out as they should have had they sold the business sooner, but they didn't lose all their personal assets. They got a little bit of money, and the brand went on, and it worked out to be a better situation. And again, because I've actually been in the trenches and ran these businesses.
Well, unfortunately, our show is over. I appreciate your time, Mitch. Thank you to my co-host, Alex Grossman, and to my engineer, Jen. You're listening to the Ask Brien Radio Show on KHTS 1220, 98.1 FM. Over and out!